Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I start these things differently each time, but I was just challenged to start things especially different this time. And I think it's important we do that because we are a Christian country. Could you bow your heads in prayer and join me, please? Lord, thank you for bringing us here together here in Okaloosa County. Folks from different walks of life, but all of whom recognize that your Lord and Savior, our Lord and Savior, is Jesus Christ. Allow us to heed the wisdom of Luke 6:46. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, but not do as I say? Lord, invite us into the light of your face to follow your commandments and precepts, no matter how large or small that challenge is. Give us the courage, and at the end of the day, may your will be done. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Amen. Let me just start off and acknowledge something that the Democrats struggle with, but even some of the establishment Republicans struggle with. This nation was built on Christianity, and Christ is king. 12 weeks ago, we launched this campaign, and I got to tell you, we started at 2%. As I stand here today in Okaloosa County, we are at 23%. We are surging. Congressman Donalds is at 37. He's in first place. We are in second place, but not for long. Honestly, we are right on his bumper. Soon, we'll pull him over. Congressman, license and registration, please. Whoa, easy there, hands on the wheel. Congressman, I regret to inform you, you're under arrest for betraying America to AIPAC. It's really simple. Put America first. Period. Put America first, but strike Iran when Israel asks. No. Put America first, but start new wars in the Middle East. No. Put America first, period, full stop. That is what we have to do. And look, I can't in good faith tell you that I'm going to put you and your family and your brothers and sisters and your neighbors first if you take money from a foreign country. I don't care if that foreign country is Sweden. I don't care if that foreign country is Australia. Doesn't matter if that foreign country is even Israel. Let me be very clear. Congressman Donalds' AIPAC tracker will stay blood red. Mine will stay green because I work for you, not Israel. Look, this campaign, this movement is not about hatred of anyone. We don't hate foreign countries. We don't hate immigrants. What we do is we have an unapologetic love, devotion, dedication, unwavering commitment to American citizens wherever they are in our state, black or white, rural or urban, rich or poor. This is a movement that will fight for the dignity of every single one of our neighbors. The ability to get a great paying job right out of high school, to graduate and get a great paying job afterward, to have the income to go buy a home and not to compete with BlackRock or Blackstone or private equity firms or foreign nationals to buy that 3-bed, 2-bath for you and your fiance to move into. That's not what this is about. Look, politicians will say they'll fight, and I'm not going to question that, actually. I believe they will fight. The question is, whom will they fight for? Will you fight for private equity to price out Florida families of the communities they built? Or will you fight for Florida families to actually be able to buy a home? It is bizarre that in the United States of America, a 25, 26-year-old couple could put in a bid for a 3-bed, 2-bath, whether it's in Crestview or Laurel Hill or Mary Esther or Niceville, and be outbid by Blackstone by $500. And that home that they had already set their mind on taken from them. The children they were going to have now pushed out and delayed. Their entire future put on pause, their trajectory torn asunder. Why? Because a private equity firm wanted to pad their margins. Let me be very clear with you this evening. Hire me as governor, and I will ban private equity, Blackstone and BlackRock, from buying single-family homes in Florida. And look, my favorite economist, Thomas Sowell, said that in politics there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. So here's the trade-off. Blackstone loses some money, or you, your kids, and your grandkids lose their country, lose their livelihood, lose their birthright. You pick which one you want. Of course Blackstone's going to lose some money, but I'm not up at night worried about a private equity firm that takes money from foreign investors in China to buy up homes right here in Florida. I'm also not worried about companies who have to hire Florida workers instead of foreign nationals from India. It's called the H-1B scam. It's pervasive. I met a student a couple weeks ago at FSU, has applied to over 100 positions at Amazon, top of his class, 4.0 GPA, great test scores, can't get a job at Amazon. They tell him, we're not hiring right now. Well, this is the Amazon that just applied for 10,000 more H-1B petitions to bring more foreigners from Calcutta and Mumbai to Florida to replace people like him. And they're not bringing the Indians over because they're smarter. They're not bringing them over because they're more capable. They're bringing them over because they're cheaper. Slavery was wrong before. It is wrong now. Hire me as governor, and we will dismantle the H-1B scam so you, your kids, and your grandkids can get great paying jobs again. And it's not just Amazon or Microsoft. It's also, you go to Disney World, you go to Universal Studios, you go to any of the hotels, whether it's here in Northwest Florida or in Orlando or Jacksonville or Miami, and it's foreign workers everywhere. Serving ice cream at Disney World, 19-year-old workers from Thailand or the Philippines, good people, I'm sure. But what about the kids in our community? That job isn't going to change your life, but it's a great place to start, to get some experience under your belt, to save some money. As Quavo once said, to stack some paper, to be in a position where you could actually move on to the next job, because the parents and grandparents in the room know you need a job to be able to get a job. You need job experience to be able to get the next job. And it's crazy that the people serving popcorn at Epcot and the people checking us into our hotels are here from foreign countries. Some of it's H-2A, some of it's H-2B. There's all sorts of visas for blue-collar work. Crazy idea. We have qualified people right here in our communities. They are hungry, they are ready to work, and guess what? If you have to pay them a little bit more, get over it. Have some loyalty to your country for once. We will make sure that any high school grad who is hungry, who is disciplined, who wants a job will be able to be gainfully employed after high school. I feel like Marco Rubio with a little. Speaking of high school, What is with these ICE protests in our high schools? And just last week, a young girl in Palm Beach County was struck by a car during one of these ICE walkouts. Look, I'm a First Amendment absolutist. You want to criticize ICE, be my guest. You want to agree with President Trump, be my guest. You want to criticize Joe Biden, be my guest. I think the First Amendment only matters if you're willing to defend people's free speech if you disagree with them. You know, give credit where credit's due to Bernie Sanders. When Twitter took President Trump off of that platform after the hoax that was January 6th, Bernie Sanders said it was wrong. And I don't disagree with him. I don't agree with him on much. But you got to recognize real in that moment. Free speech only matters if you're willing to defend it when it's people who disagree with you. And Gay, I know that you and I disagree, like many of us do, with the hooligans at our schools. If they want to protest ICE, they can go to the courthouse on Saturday and do so peacefully outside. They can do a rally outside of City Hall or in a city park. And then they cry the First Amendment. They say we have free speech. We have the First Amendment. The First Amendment does not give you the right to be an incorrigible delinquent. When I am governor, you have two choices. Get the hell back to class or you're getting expelled. That's it. That is it. And look, I don't agree with them, but I'll defend their free speech rights. So long as it doesn't disrupt the classroom, so long as it happens on the weekend. And who are we kidding? Do we really think the 14-year-old kids have a strong position on ICE? They really know what they're talking about, who they're actually defending, the violent criminals who broke into our country when Kamala Harris was border czar. You know, I might respect these kids if they had gone out and held walkouts for Jocelyn Nagari or Laken Riley or Rachel Marin, but they didn't, because our corrupt public school system told them what mattered, and American citizens did not make the list. Hire me as governor, and we will revive the love of America in our classrooms once again. I gotta tell you, I'm a public school kid from kindergarten to graduation. My mom pulled me out for 3 weeks and put me in Catholic school, and that's all I lasted. You can't go to elementary school public, then go to middle school Catholic and expect it to be normal. I didn't behave. But I'm a public school kid, and my sister is a proud public school teacher. My grandmother was, my aunt was, and I gotta tell you, I resent that a small minority of the Republican elite establishment spends time denigrating our public school teachers in Florida. I resent that. The public school teachers that I know wake up early, stay late, inspire their students with creative lessons. They don't want government bureaucrats, Democrats or Republicans, telling them how to teach their lesson so long as they are speaking the truth. If you're a public school teacher and you are showing up to school every single day, you will have a governor in me that will have your back. As Jeb Bush once said, please clap. And as Joe Biden once said, you know the rest. But it doesn't change the fact there is a small minority of public school teachers who wake up every single day trying to indoctrinate the young, impressionable youth. If you're a public school teacher in Florida, if you're one of the very few who decides to be the indoctrinator in chief, if you try to push white guilt on your students as a public school teacher in Florida, you will not be a public school teacher in Florida when I am governor. Full stop. You are not to tell the white students to apologize to the black students, and you are not to tell the black students that they cannot make it in America because of systemic racism. Black or white, we are all created in God's image. Every single one of us is capable of greatness. And you know what? You're going to need to teach Florida history as well in our public schools. It's crazy that public school students will know more about Europe than they will about the Florida Panhandle. That students in South Florida won't be able to tell you about the Battle of Mariana in the 1860s. Won't be able to tell you about the Miccosukee or the Seminole or the Calusa Indians. Won't be able to tell you the river that divides Eastern and Central time in our state, which we all know is the Apalachicola. We need to revive not just a sense of American pride, but Florida pride in our school. And let me be very clear. As governor, I will never apologize for our Confederate history. Pardon my language, but there were good men on both sides of that war. There were good men on both sides of that war. And when I think about the Confederate monuments that I see in Jackson County or my own home of Madison County, I see brave men, fathers, brothers, husbands who defended their communities. And at the end of the war, we put our differences aside, as we do often as Americans, and come together. And that is what we need to do more than ever. We do not have a two-party system. We don't. If we had a two-party system, one party would consistently vote against foreign aid, and one party would consistently vote for foreign aid. The problem is both parties consistently vote for taking more of our money, money that we don't have. Borrow it from China. Put that debt burden on our children and grandchildren. Money that we don't have. To buy things that we don't need. To give it to countries that hate us. That is not what our founding fathers envisioned. They envisioned a country where our politicians woke up and were preoccupied with one thing and one thing only, the general welfare of American citizens. Not illegal aliens, not private equity firms, not foreign countries, but American citizens. As governor, I will wake up every single day, whether you're a truck driver in Crestview or a U.S. sugar worker in Clewiston, whether you're a retired sailor in Pensacola or an active duty Marine in Southwest Florida. I report to one class of people and one class alone, and that is you, the American citizens. Look, we all want to make America great again. The question is, what do we mean by America? Make America great again. Well, it depends how you define America. Is America the stock market? Is America GDP?
No, it's Israel. Make Israel great again, not make America great.
I don't disagree. But you're like 2 paragraphs ahead of the speech right now. I'm getting there. Can you imagine it's Lincoln at Gettysburg and you're reading halfway down the speech? But I'll tell you, when we say make America great again, and then they say, well, the stock market's at 50,000. The Dow is at 50,000. America is great. No, America cannot be great when we are defending pedophiles in Washington, D.C., Democrat or Republican. Hire me as governor. I will reopen the Epstein investigation. Look, George Orwell said it best in 1984, that the party's final and most essential command was to deny the evidence of your eyes and ears. We have all seen what was in those files. It's not enough to release all 6 million. It's not enough to unredact every single one of them. It is time for prosecutions. Let's be very clear. There is federal law, which I don't control. There is state law, which I absolutely control. Capital sexual battery Florida state law does not carry a statute of limitation. It doesn't matter whether it happened 20 years ago or 30 years ago. We all know about Epstein's Island, Little St. James. But there's another island that was actually even more pervasive, even more disgraceful, even more degenerate. And that island was right here in Florida, the island of Palm Beach. Hire me as governor. On my first freaking day in office, I will appoint a statewide special prosecutor to reopen the Epstein investigations. And look, I don't care if there's a D next to your name or if there's an R next to your name. I don't care if you've got money, if you've got 3 or 4 homes, and I don't even care if you work for Israel on the side. We will bring you to justice in the state of Florida. We will not allow you to traffic, to assault, and to rape little girls. We are better than that. You must be brought to justice. Now, little known fact, capital sexual battery carries something called the death sentence. Now look, should you be killed for carjacking somebody? Should you be executed? No. Shoplifting? No. I believe that there are very limited cases in which we should exercise the death penalty. But I think in this case in particular, we have to for 2 reasons. The crimes, as we have all read them, are horrific, beyond the pale. You could put Stephen King in a room for 10 years and he could not recreate the scenes that we have all read in those files. These men committed heinous crimes, and they must pay for those crimes. That's the first reason why you can't take the death sentence off the table. But second, as a society, we have to send a very loud and clear message to anyone who would dare think of doing that to any woman or girl in our state. Look, I'm not talking about an extrajudicial death sentence. You will be investigated, arrested, charged, arraigned. You will be tried before a jury of your peers. And if that jury, after our statewide prosecutor puts on the evidence, if that jury finds you guilty, we will sentence you to death.
Put him in the wood chipper.
The Lord says, vengeance is mine. That vengeance will be exacted on Judgment Day. But guess what? We control when that Judgment Day is. We are going to send them to the Lord a heck of a lot sooner. And this is not something that we can sweep under the rug. It is not a Democrat hoax. I don't know what Kash Patel is doing. But honestly, I wouldn't trust him to investigate what happened to my DoorDash last night. Look, we don't have any problem with you partying with the U.S. hockey team, chugging a couple beers. But you can't do that when you're covering for sick, depraved men who have gone free for far too long. I respect President Trump. I proudly voted for him in 2024. But it's time for Kash Patel and Pam Bondi to step down. This campaign is about 5 things. Not 4, not 6, 5 until I change my mind and make it 6 or 7. Whoa, 6 or 7. It's about 5 things. Number 1 is affordability. We're the best state in the country, but we cannot stay the best, John, if the people who made us the best can no longer afford to live here. Whether it's property tax, property insurance, auto insurance, the tolls to get to and from work, we have to address affordability, not so you can have a couple $100s at the end of the month, so you can afford to exist in your own state. So as a young couple, you can afford to buy a home. Because if you can't afford to buy a home, can you get married? If you can't get married, can you have kids? And if you can't have kids, guys, what on earth is the point? Let's talk about actually addressing a job market that works for foreigners but not for Floridians. Let's actually talk about making it easier to pay your bills, to get down payment assistance, not to hand out more money on welfare, but to give people a hand up, to invest in our own communities for once. That is what affordability is about. Look, I'm not for property tax reform. I'm not for property tax elimination. I am for property tax elimination. Because, look, we don't really have a choice here. If you are trying to put a state that can deliver for everyone, for the senior citizen who's scraping together funds at the end of the year to pay a property tax bill, or to the young couple who buys a home and finds out, congrats, you have a white elephant now, because now you have to pay not just your mortgage, but your property tax, your property insurance, and HOA. We have to take care of all of that. Now, look, I'm not a political guy. I want to be very honest, because I don't want to catfish anybody, even though I was on Tinder last week. And look, I joined Tinder not to pull chicks. I joined Tinder to meet young women where they are, to share my plan on how I can make life easier for women. Easier to buy a home, easier to get married, easier to have kids, and when it's all said and done, to retire. And in my Tinder profile, I can't believe I'm saying that. In my Tinder profile, I was very upfront about what my view is on the issue of life. Life begins at conception. Either abortion is murder or it isn't. It's not suddenly okay at a certain point or before a certain point in time. Either it's murder or it isn't. Either it is a genocide against the next generation or it isn't. Either it is a Holocaust, yes, a Holocaust against the preborn, or it isn't. The correct number of abortions in the state of Florida is 0. As governor, I will shut down the remaining 53 abortion clinics in our state. And I'm not going to mince words. I'm not going to give you a word salad that would make Kamala Harris blush. I'm not going to do that. By the way, is she drinking again? Did she ever stop, actually? I'm not going to give you an answer, and you may not like this answer, and that's okay, and I hope we can still get along. We're not going to agree on everything. But unlike my opponent who wants to dance around the issue, let me just tell you where I stand. If a full abortion ban came across my desk, I would sign it, and it would be the honor of a lifetime. It's not enough, though, to merely change the law. It's not enough to merely shut down 53 abortion clinics. We have to erect 53 crisis pregnancy centers for young, vulnerable women who struggle with an unexpected, unplanned pregnancy. I can't stand the thought of a single mom walking to a Planned Parenthood saying, I would keep the baby if I could just get baby food for the first 3 months. No, ma'am, all we offer is murder. I would keep the baby if I could just get some prenatal and postpartum care. No, ma'am, all we offer is murder. I would keep the baby if I just could have some support. No, all we offer is murder. We can get rid of abortion. We can eliminate abortion, but we will not be able to get rid of unplanned, unexpected pregnancies. As governor, I will always stand with vulnerable women. I will never shame them. I will never ask them to relive or relitigate their whole life experience or question them, as many entrenched Republican establishment figures do. We will come together as a community and support our moms with baby food, with diapers, with prenatal and postpartum care. And yes, when you give birth on Saturday, we will not expect you to show up to work on Monday morning. Hire me as governor, and we will implement statewide paid maternity leave for every mom in Florida. Look, I'm not a Republican politician who's going to sit here and say, why did you have sex? No, it's over. You have a beautiful child in the womb. How can we as Christians come together and support you in that moment? Republicans who simply want to change the law but don't want to spend a penny for moms who need that support. Republicans who will tell a single pregnant mom, no, we don't have the money, but we'll send $5 billion to Israel. It's unacceptable, and they are traitors to this country. Look, we have been a very generous people. We have sent aid to people who like us, and we've sent aid even more to people who absolutely hate us. Remember when Doge uncovered that USAID shenanigan? And what did we find out? We were sending money to Iraq for Sesame Street. And then we had to cut it. We were sending money to a transgender opera in Colombia. And then we had to cut it. We were sending money to Mozambique for circumcisions. And we had to cut that too, quite literally. The point is, radical idea. Our money stays here. It doesn't go over there. Period. And we don't care where over there is. We don't care. But I'll tell you, as we sit here tonight, the foolish Republicans in Tallahassee have lent $385 million of our money to the nation of Israel. If you're a small business owner and you need to hire a worker to help grow your landscaping business, and you knocked on the state capitol and said, I just need $5,000. I just need to hire this worker and I can double my revenue over the 6 months. No, we don't give money to you. If you're a college student who wants to maybe drop out and go to a technical school, but needs to cover the fees and the tuition, there's no money for you. If you're a senior citizen who needs a little bit of money to stay in the home that you raise your children in, there is no money for you, but there's money to fund pointless, disastrous, genocidal wars in the Middle East. as governor, I will divest the full $385 million they sent to Israel. Bring it back. Bring it back. And it's not about hatred of Israel. It's not about hatred of Jews. Let me be very clear. I condemn religious hatred against Jews, against Muslims, and yes, against the most persecuted group in the United States of America, and that is Christians. We must stop anti-Christian hate. We must stop the slanderous lie of toxic masculinity. The idea that all of society's ills and sins rest at the feet of young men, the same young men who built this country. Men are in crisis right now. And it's not about necessarily what's government going to do for them. Because we know that government is not going to solve our problems. We know the wise words of President Reagan, the most dangerous 9 words in the English language. I'm here from the government, and I'm here to help. We just want a government that fights for us in at least the same way they'll fight for other countries and other people. Why on earth is that so hard? Democrat, Republican, they're the same party at this point. I've been a registered Republican since high school, but at times I don't recognize my party. I just don't. We need to get back to the party of Teddy Roosevelt. To get back to the party that Donald Trump stood for in 2015 and 2016. And I believe that President Trump means well, but I also believe he's pulled in 15 different directions by advisors that are highly, highly compromised. But I also believe that the 10th Amendment and our federalist system vests real power in the state government, not in the federal government. And that is why I'm asking you to hire me as your next governor. We don't have a lot of time. If we go another 10 years of property developers taking over more land, paving over more wildlife, building and turning our state into a concrete jungle, not for anything valuable. It'd be one thing if they were building a bookstore or a cafe. No, they're building more self-storage units, the seventh Dollar General, whatever the heck a Five Below is. I do actually know what it is. I got a giant Twizzler there once, never been back. It turns out it's actually not Five Below, it's a hoax. Some things are actually quite expensive in there. And they say, well, why are you picking winners and losers? We already pick winners and losers. We don't let strip clubs open next to elementary schools. We don't let liquor stores open right next door to churches. As a society, we must, in many respects, legislate morality. Make good moral decisions. Let's talk about that morality. A state that allows a predatory billion-dollar company to exploit young women into selling nude images on the internet. That is not a state of government that is looking out for women who sell the content and, yes, for the men who consume that content. Young women in this country, in this state, once aspired to be teachers, nurses, doctors, small business owners, pastry chefs, and yes, even devoted stay-at-home moms. And now young women are told, the solution to your problems is to join OnlyFans, to sell nude videos and photos to strangers on the internet, and allow yourself to be objectified by a billion-dollar company. I'm not going to let that happen to women in our state. As governor, I will institute a 50% OnlyFans sin tax. Why a tax? Why not just ban it outright? Because the Supreme Court wouldn't allow that, and their perverted, quite literally, interpretation of the First Amendment, that's protected speech. Whatever. We're not going to fight on that one today. We got bigger fights with them. But here's what we can do. If you want to encourage behavior, you cut taxes. If you want to discourage and deter behavior, what do? You raise taxes on that behavior. Look, if you're a young woman in this state and you can't afford rent, you can't afford tuition, you struggle to pay for groceries, and you are trapped in the world of online pornography, know that as governor, I will never shame you. I will never let anyone attack you. I will fight for women who are trapped in the depravity, dare I say, in the hell that is online pornography. We will support you. But if despite the support that we offer, you of your own volition decide to sell that content or consume that content, it is a 50% tax. We will end it and end it in the state of Florida. Now, Sophie Rain wants to beef with us. That's okay. Sophie Rain, for those who don't spend all day on the internet, is the #1 adult performer on OnlyFans. She's from Florida, from Hernando County, just outside of Tampa. And she sat with CNN last week for an interview. I sat afterward. We didn't get the pleasure of meeting. But I think she's actually really smart. And I genuinely mean it. I want her and young women all over the state who feel trapped in the world of online pornographic degeneracy, I want them to achieve their God-given greatness. And I will fight to do that every single day as governor. Now look, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome. Right now, it pays more to be a single mom with 3 kids on welfare than it does to be a married mom with 3 kids on welfare. What message are we sending to society? Stay single, never get married, or get divorced. Let's rewire that system. Let's incentivize, dare I say, let's reward the sanctity of the holy sacrament of marriage. And you do that by defending marriage. Look, if you are in an abusive relationship, I will always defend your right to exit that relationship via a divorce. But if you are a husband and you cheat on your wife and there is a divorce, the cheater will lose everything. I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't want to hear the but this, then that. I don't care if you're the man cheating or the woman cheating. If you're serious about defending the sanctity of marriage, you will put a steep financial penalty on adultery. As governor, I will not tolerate adultery in the state of Florida. And by the way, it sends a very clear signal. If you're wrestling with whom to marry now, good. It's not supposed to be an easy decision. Because now you know that if you can't trust her, if she can't trust you, then maybe you aren't meant to be. Now you got one or two options. Stay loyal or rethink who you're about to marry. I can't stand the thought of young kids having to go through a divorce. You know, Republicans say that people don't have privilege in this country. I think that's wrong. I was born with privilege. The privilege of growing up in a two-parent household. Every child in Florida deserves to grow up with mom and dad, two parents in the household, and we need to fight for the two-parent household in Florida. So how do you fight for it? You make it really expensive to screw it up. Well, what about the financial costs? What about the financial, emotional, and moral and ethical cost of putting young children through divorce? Forcing them to see mom and dad fight? How likely it now is for the child of divorced parents to turn to drugs, to turn to alcohol at an early age, to have relationship issues of their own, to struggle in school or to go to college or to be faced with a job market that they're not emotionally prepared for. There is a real moral cost of divorce in Florida, but there is an unbearable financial cost as well. This is the smart thing to do. It is the right thing to do. And to the very few people who are critical of it, I respect our differences. If you think that we shouldn't legislate morality, allow me to pull a quote from wise American philosopher Trinidad James. Don't believe me, just watch. We will legislate morality in Florida. Our schools are not the goal. Education is the goal. What are you going to do to fund our public schools? Now, the question should be, what am I going to do to fund education? If you're a homeschool parent and you want to pull your child out of Okaloosa County schools or Santa Rosa or Escambia, I support your right to do that. But if Okaloosa was going to spend $16,000 educating your child, and you want to homeschool them, you should get the full $16,000. It was going to get spent over here. It was going to get spent at Crestview High School or at Niceville High School or up in Laurel Hill. It was going to get spent there, so why not give you, the parent, every single penny that would have otherwise been spent on your child? We have, they say, #1 public schools in the country. Well, how does that square with the fact that we are 49 out of 50 in public school teacher pay? That doesn't make any sense. And I say this as the proud brother of a public school teacher, that as governor, I will fight to raise public school teacher pay by 25%. And not only that, we're going to take the business side of things and we're going to lay out a clear performance-driven pay format for our teachers. If your kids have the best test scores, if your parents as a teacher are giving you the best marks, the best evaluations, if your own students are giving you great evaluations, and you are getting the highest in all three of those criteria, you as a teacher, I don't care if you've been there for 1 year or 20, you as a teacher in Florida should make $100,000 a year. The best teachers deserve a raise, and the worst teachers deserve to be fired and trespassed from school grounds. Not everybody's going to make it. But there are a lot of smart people in our community. Think about it this way. Elon Musk, if he walked in to Niceville High School, Elon Musk could not teach a physics class. He doesn't have the government-issued certification. And he sends rockets into space and lands them shortly thereafter. Think of all of the retired vets and retired teachers and college professors right here in Okaloosa County who, if given the opportunity, would come to our schools 5-6 hours a week to volunteer as teachers and as tutors. As governor, I will welcome our community into the classrooms to elevate our public school experience. And look, I'm taking a hands-on approach to our public schools. First way I'm going to do that is I'm going to totally redo sex ed. They say we have abstinence sex ed. That's a lie. You can't say you have abstinence if Chapter 1 is about abstinence and then Chapter 2 is about applying lubricant. Pardon my language, but it's the truth. So what do? I'll write the sex ed lesson myself. Your body is a temple. Wait until marriage. Protect yourself. Period. Now let's go back to math class. That's it. You can't preach abstinence and then say there are condoms in the guidance counselor's office. You can't say wait until marriage and say, well, here's how you do it for maximum pleasure. You should not be talking about intercourse in our public schools. As governor, there is one sex ed lesson and one only. Wait until marriage. Your body is a temple. That is what we will do in our public schools. And I don't care what the teachers' unions say. I work for you as parents, as grandparents, and yes, as students, I work for you as well. My job is to show tough love. More and more students are falling prey to the addictive substance that is marijuana. And this is not the marijuana from the 90s. This is not Snoop Dogg's marijuana. This marijuana can induce psychosis, becomes an actual addiction, a real dependency, and a gateway for other drugs like fentanyl. If you struggle with PTSD, I will always fight for your ability to have access to medical marijuana. If you're a cancer patient and you struggle with pain, I will always fight for your access to medical marijuana. There is absolutely no reason a 13-year-old in middle school should be smoking a blunt after they get off the bus. Let me make an announcement right here in Okaloosa County. Let's break a little bit of news together. If you're a public school student and there is a stench of marijuana on you, you're taking a drug test. You will be taking a drug test. We're not going to expel you. We're not going to suspend you. But we're going to bring your parents in. We're going to have a conversation because I can't live with the fact that young kids one day will start with marijuana and then a greedy drug dealer will push a Percocet laced with fentanyl on them the next day. It's called tough love. My parents didn't always want to agree with me on what I wanted as a kid. You, as the young people in the room, know that sometimes we had fights with our parents when we were younger, but they were right. Should someone be thrown in jail for having a dime bag of marijuana? No. But there is absolutely no reason you should be smoking weed at our public schools. We have a right as a community to come together. What is the alternative? I don't want to have to do this, but what's the alternative? Let them keep smoking weed? Keep skipping class? Students I know in my own life who went from the honor roll, and then someone put them on to marijuana, and now they're barely passing. They once had a fire in their eyes for music, for choir, for debate, and then they get introduced to the addictive poison that often is marijuana. We can lose an entire generation right before our eyes. And for those of you who are in high school or recently graduated from high school, you know what I'm talking about. Is marijuana going to kill you? Probably not. But will it kill your spirit? Will it, dare I say, even kill your soul, your morale? Yes. And I will not let that happen. We're not judging anybody. We're not expelling anybody. We're not punishing anybody. It's called tough love. If you smoke weed in our public schools, you're taking a drug test, and there will be an intervention. And look, we'll transition you. We'll put you on some white monsters instead, okay? All right? Is that okay? That good? Look, it's called getting high on life. Okay? And look, you're not going to be able to keep me in Tallahassee, all right? Because I got restless leg syndrome, okay? I'm going to show up in our public schools. I'm going to walk the halls of our public schools. And I'll tell you right now, if I see a student, it's all tough love. Pull up your pants. Put down the blunt and go to church. Well, you're not, wait, hold on. You're in the government, and did you just tell someone to go to church? James, are you a Christian nationalist? We are a Christian nation. If someone tells you they're a principled conservative, ask them the next time a politician sits across from you and says, I am a principled conservative. Ask them, where do you get your principles from? Well, the Republican manual. I get my principles from Holy Scripture, from Christ. I get them from the United States Constitution. I know that in Florida, they say we're free, but I'll tell you right now, if you criticize a certain foreign country, you could be convicted of anti-Semitism. I will defend your right. If you want to criticize Russia, be my guest. If you want to criticize Ukraine and that money laundering scheme, be my guest. And yes, if you want to criticize Israel, be my guest. That is your First Amendment right to do so. And look, if you feel differently about Israel, I'll defend your right to support Israel. I'll defend the right of Students for Palestine at UWF to assemble and not to have a conservative tell them that what they're doing is anti-Semitic. I'll defend the right of Jewish students to protest on their campuses. I will defend your right to go on social media and question any vaccine. And I will defend your right to say what so many of us know to be true, that the 2020 election was stolen from President Trump. It is called the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. Hire me as governor, and I will defend your free speech. Our Second Amendment is also under attack. Raise your hand if you're 18, 19, or 20. Congratulations, you don't have a Second Amendment. Look, I grew up 10 miles from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. What happened on February 14th, 2018 was a tragedy. 17 souls taken from us. There should have been armed guards at that school. Teachers should have been allowed to carry and shoot that sick man dead. The idea that we have armed guards at the bank, that we will protect our money, but we won't protect our children. Hire me as governor, and we will put armed men at every single one of our public schools. And so, yes, Faith, yes, Parkland was a tragedy. What was equally a tragedy was using that tragedy to dispossess men and women 18, 19, and 20 years old of their God-given, constitutionally protected Second Amendment rights. As governor, I will repeal and reverse the age increase. If you're 18 or 19 or 20, you will be able to buy a gun and carry it wherever you please, because the Second Amendment makes it clear, shall not be infringed. But what about AR-15s? Shall not be infringed. But what about a bump stock or FRT? Shall not be infringed. But what about my neighbor listening to Nick Fuentes too loudly? I need to call in a red flag law. Shall not be infringed. If you're old enough to die for your country, you're old enough to buy an AR-15 5.56 with a bump stock the day you turn 18 years old. And oh, are you going to compromise with the legislature? How are you going to repeal it? I take an oath to the United States Constitution and the United States Constitution alone. If you're a sheriff and you try to arrest someone who's 18 or 19 or 20 for having a gun, for carrying in public, and we're bringing back open carry, we're going to codify it into law. If you do any of that, I will remove you immediately. The powers vested in me under Article 4, Section 7 of the Florida Constitution. Congratulations. You have been indicted of dereliction of duty because you have abandoned your oath to the Constitution. I'm not playing games with the legislature. I take one oath, and that is not to legislative procedure. That is to the founding document set in stone in the summer of 1787 in Philadelphia after vigorous debate between men who were not racist but were patriots. I hold my oath to the United States Constitution alone, and we will get that job done. And then you have the Fourth Amendment, which is also under attack. Warrantless searches. Congratulations, Palantir is moving to Florida. How do you feel about that? Look, The same digital weapons that are deployed on foreign battlefields have no business being aimed at American citizens in Florida. As governor, I will ban Palantir from all government contracts. A mass surveillance state, whether run by the CIA or run by Peter Thiel and his buddies, a mass surveillance state violates the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. And yes, that applies to flock cameras as well. It is unconstitutional. So, part of me criticized the Democrats in 2024 for saying that democracy itself was on the ballot. They said that Trump was an insurrectionist. He wasn't. And they said that if you vote for Trump, if you don't vote for Vice President Harris, that democracy would fall apart. That seemed like an exaggeration because it was. But I'm not exaggerating when we say that the First Amendment is on the ballot. That the mayor of Miami Beach, Steve Miner, sent armed men last month to a woman to confront her over a Facebook post that he called anti-Semitic. Armed men banging on a woman's door. The whole thing's on video. Explain this Facebook post. I don't want armed men going after anyone, Republican or Democrat, black or white, Christian, Muslim, or a Jew. 1984 was a warning, not an operating manual. We cannot allow anyone in Florida, a private company or a government official, to infringe on our First Amendment rights. I will use my powers to remove anyone who does that from office immediately. And so, look, I don't have political experience. I didn't spend the last 5 years in Congress like Congressman Donalds did, making $4.8 million trading stocks. All of a sudden, John, he wants us to believe he's the Black Warren Buffett. I didn't spend the last 5 years in Congress passing every single spending bill that took money we don't have to spend it on things that we don't need for people who should not even be in our country. I did not spend the last 5 years in Congress voting yes to send more of our hard-earned money to Israel. I do not have political experience, which is exactly why I'm asking you to hire me to be the 47th governor of this state. I'm a business guy. My investment firm last year alone deployed $40 million of capital in businesses from healthcare to finance to tech that were doing the radical thing, which was opposing DEI instead of using it, hiring people not on their race or gender, but on their skill and merit. I started a statewide high school debate league called Incubate Debate just this past weekend. We had 100 students at Jacksonville University debating reparations, debating bombing drug boats in the Caribbean, and debating free speech. When I looked at the fentanyl crisis, I partnered with Okaloosa County Public Schools, Duval County Public Schools, Broward County Public Schools, and delivered a free statewide in-school assembly to teach young kids about the dangers of poisonous fentanyl. I was born and raised in Florida, Broward County, where my dad drove the city bus for 10 years, where my granddad taught at Florida Atlantic University and herded cattle on the side, where my great-granddad fought in World War I and ran a small hotel on Fort Lauderdale Beach. We are at a fork in the road. This is not about the who. It is not about Congressman Donalds versus me. It is about the what. What vision for Florida do you want? Do you want old Florida or new Florida? Do you want the old Florida of cattle, of citrus, of being able to get to work and a commute that used to take you 30 minutes and can still get back to that? Do you want to live in a state where under the age of 30 you can buy a home and get married and it not feel like 3 miracles? Do you want to be able to get to a state where you or your kids or your grandkids can raise a family on a single income? Do you want to get back to a state where you can worship Christ and criticize whomever and not fear a loud knock at the door? Do you want to live in a state where you can defend yourself fully as the Constitution allows? I never once asked you tonight for your vote. I asked you to hire me. Don't think of it as an election. Think of it as a job interview. There are 2 people, 2 final candidates, Byron Donalds and James Fishback. And when you think tonight, who do I trust to fight for me and my family and my kids and my grandkids and my neighbors and our schools and homeschool parents and the vets and active service members and our hospitals, our communities, our wildlife conservation efforts, our farmers, our commercial fishermen, the preborn? Ask yourself, between these 2 men, who do I want to hire to wake up every single day for the next 4 years and maybe after that 4 more, to fight for me with every fiber in their being, to leave it all on the field, to not make excuses, and to never forget about the forgotten people of Florida, not to worry if you're rich or you're poor or you're black or you're white, whether you voted for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. I will fight for you with equal vigor. My name is James Fishback. I am running to be your next governor because Florida is our home. America is our birthright. And we can never let them steal that from us. Thank you so much. Like any good job interview, now come the questions. Now look, before Election Day, I'm going to visit all 67 counties. It is an honor of a lifetime to be here in Okaloosa, to hit 38 together. We are going to lay it all on the field. They have money. We have patriots. They have AIPAC. We have proud, unapologetic American citizens. That is the fight that we will have. And don't take my word for it. The New York Times says, say what you want about Fishback. He is way ahead of where Zohran Mamdani was this time last year, and he still has 6 months to go. We will win this thing. We will win this thing. Yes, sir. I will. Afterward. After the questions. Yes, I will. Yes, sir.
I have a question on the statewide maternity leave.
Yes, sir.
If the wife is a small business owner or slash business owner.
That's a good question, actually. Because usually you think of it as the wife's an employee. What I think you'd probably want to do is do a tax credit that would be commensurate with what they would have gotten otherwise. I think the same principle applies, right? What we really want to do is we want to incentivize motherhood. a young woman today could list 50 reasons why she wouldn't want to have a child. 50 different reasons. And what I want to do as governor is I want to eliminate as many of those reasons as possible. And I want to breathe new life into motherhood in our state. And I think the way you do that is you don't financially discourage women from having children. So we'll get that done.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
So you talked about a lot about giving credits to married couples to buy homes.
Yes.
I was wondering what plan you would have for single people to actually own homes or rent.
So I think for the longest time, our system has favored people who are single. And that's not to say that folks who are single don't struggle, they do. I'm always going to stand for our single moms and single dads. They're fighters, they fight in the trenches every single day. But I think we need to rework our economic system that actually rewards getting married. And so we're going to keep a lot of those benefits in place, but we have to increase benefits for couples who are getting married. And that's why our Rise and Shine program, the $385 million, that's going to go for $10,000 down payment assistance checks. Here's the catch. One of you has to have worked in Florida for the last 5 years. You have to be married. You have to be under the age of 30. And now look, all the other reforms we're going to make, whether it's banning Blackstone, BlackRock, or foreign nationals from buying up our homes, that's going to make our housing market a lot more fair and a lot more competitive for us. So a lot of it's going to lift all boats. But that program in particular is for those who are married because we want to encourage and incentivize marriage and reward it. Yeah.
Okay, so I know your campaign is focused on social media, and obviously it's one over the other.
Well, I don't know. We're not in the metaverse right now. We got a lot of good people here.
Well, obviously you want over the younger generation, but how do you plan as election day comes to connect with the older generation as well?
Well, you brought your mom here, didn't you? And grandma. So keep doing that. Keep doing that. You know, the reason, you look at the numbers and you say, well, why don't older voters, why aren't they supporting Fishback yet? And if you actually look at the breakdown, the crosstab, it's because they don't know us yet. That's literally the only reason. So I'm going to do my part, which is showing up literally everywhere and meeting voters where they are. And I'm asking our younger supporters to do their part. As you did, bring your mom. As you did, bring your mom and your grandmother. Blow up your group chats. Bring us up every chance you can get. Here's what I believe. Word of mouth is more powerful than stupid TV ads. And that's how we're going to get it done. But look, we got 6 months to go. We're already at 23% after 12 weeks. Know that I will show up for every single voter. And to the folks who are above the age of 40 in the room, can we get a quick little poll? How you feeling?
I feel good.
You good? Can we count on your vote in August?
Yes, absolutely. I'll hire you.
Will you hire me?
I'll hire you.
Yeah?
Yeah, I agree.
Will you hire us?
You're hired.
Hired? So it's working. But you got to show up. You have to show up for voters. And so my plan's really, we can talk about the inside baseball of electoral politics and all that. But honestly, if you show up, our crowds were way younger a month ago than they are now. We're really starting to get a nice balance of age. But I'm asking our young supporters to show up, to bring mom and dad. I'm thinking of something, maybe we'll do this, RJ, here in the next couple of weeks. We'll have an event where you can only come in if you bring mom or dad. It's called Bring Your Parents to Rally Day. It's called Bring Your Parents to the Rally. And we'll give you merch. And we'll give you some merch. So we're going to get it done. You know, CNN was with us last week. The New York Times are all writing profiles on us. I'm arguing in the Facebook comments a little bit. But truthfully, I think that if you start with the youth, that's going to trickle up naturally. But we're also, of course, intentionally meeting with older voters. And we're going to get it done. We got 6 months. We got a very, very late primary. But I got to tell you, many of you may have already seen the news. But I got a letter, a formal invitation from Fox inviting us to the Tampa Bay debate on July 21st. I will be there. Who do you think wins that debate? It's that simple. And so we're going to have watch parties all over the state. I hope your families will get together and have watch parties, 3-4 generations watching that debate. I think that's going to be a defining moment in the campaign. It's a clear side-by-side. Who has the better vision for Florida? After that debate, I think the election's over. Over, yeah.
You mentioned the Epstein list and going after the depraved individuals that were in those files. Do you also intend on going after the depraved individuals in the state of Florida who have covered up for that conspiracy since 2006?
If you are covering for Epstein and his accomplices, congratulations. You are one of Epstein's accomplices. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone. Anyone. I think there's two reasons why the full Epstein files haven't been released. I think a lot more Republicans are implicated. Number two, I think the scale of the cover-up. Pam Bondi was the Attorney General of Florida at the time. The U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of Florida was investigating it. I think a lot of those people broke the law covering up for Epstein. And that's why you're starting to see some of these emails come out where they're really redacting the federal prosecutors who are going back and forth negotiating this deal for him. They were in on it. And so the statewide prosecutor that I will appoint, and I got to tell you, I have a short list already. It's a great group. 2 conditions. They could never have worked for Pam Bondi. They could never have worked for the FBI. Former sex crimes prosecutors right here in Florida who are prepared to throw the book. And my instructions to them as governor will be this. No negotiating, no deals, no pleas. We're taking it all the way to trial. Throw the book at them. Yes, sir.
Well, on that note, will you instruct the Attorney General to prosecute Randy Fine?
The easiest way to prosecute Randy Fine is to shut down the Golden Corral next to his house.
Yeah. And how you plan to combat this. Undoubtedly, they're going to throw it at you when you take office. But what is being said is that you're a resident of D.C., so hopefully you can explain that for us here.
I can, and let me give you the background on this. I was born and raised in Davie, Florida. Lived in Florida my entire life. My parents moved to Washington, D.C. in 2019. In 2021, I bought an apartment 3 blocks from theirs because I see my parents all the time. I talk to my parents every single day. In fact, my dad's out there right now traveling with us. I really love my parents. And I bought that place so I could visit them regularly. This attack line is that because I own property in Washington, D.C., that means I'm not a Florida resident. The Florida Constitution, Article 4, Section 5, stipulates the terms under which you can be governor. It says absolutely nothing about owning property in another state as a disqualifying factor. What Byron Donalds is doing, and he's trafficking in this, and that's why we're hearing about this, is instead of trying to debate on the issues, he is trying to literally remove my name off the ballot. I've already consulted with a team of lawyers. There's no case there. I have always lived in Florida. This is my home. I was born here. I will die here. And I look forward to Byron Donalds actually debating the issue as opposed to playing this game of gotcha. Not that you are, but it's a genuine question. But I will absolutely fully qualify, and I look forward to debating him on July 21st. Thanks. Yeah.
specifically is Polk County down in Florida. There's been certain influencers that have gone down there and done things related to predatory issues on our minors, and there's been a lot of different deputies in those counties that have been not fulfilling through, not doing the proper investigation. There's been all the evidence laid in front of them, and then nothing has been followed through. If we get a promise today that when you are governor, that there will be a revisitation through some of those things to make sure that justice is sought out for certain minors in the state.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes, everyone. Every single one. And look, I'm not going to ask you to blindly trust me. For people who are wondering, where on earth did this guy come from? My dad's out there, go talk to him. Where did I come from? Yes, the trains will run on time. But here's the thing. To people who say, and I've heard this so many times, and it's a legitimate concern, how do we know we can trust you? You can't know. My hope is that you came here tonight and you're willing to have a second date, no homo, willing to have a second date. And you're willing to watch our campaign very closely over the next 6 months. I don't believe in telling people to trust me blindly, least of all after so many young conservatives, older conservatives have been backstabbed, have been gaslit. I feel like the new boyfriend after a girl who got cheated on. And I got a target on my back. But I got to accept that, and I just got to accept it. I can't tell you to trust me. I can hope that between now and August 18th, I can show you that I am someone worth trusting. That when they push me one way to do something, that I stand firm. And then when they try to get me to apologize for saying something anti-Semitic or racist or whatever fake label they want to use, that I stand firm. That when a donor calls me up 2 weeks ago and says, we will wire your super PAC $500,000, all you have to do is to disavow Nick Fuentes and his supporters, I hang up the phone and I say, I will never disavow patriotic Americans. And so guess what? We don't have to pick out wedding rings tonight. We don't have to decide where the honeymoon is going to be, Destin. But leave out of here at least open to supporting our campaign and continue to watch us, continue to see us, whether it's on CNN or taking tough questions in the local media. See how they push me and see if I am who you maybe think I am. That is my hope by Election Day. And I'll take it one step further. I'm going to do something that nobody has ever done. Literally nobody has ever done. Right now, I am putting together a legal affidavit, a legal binding document that lays out the promises that I will do in my first 4 years. I will sign that document. And that document will say that if I don't do all of those things on that document, that I will be ineligible. I will forfeit my ability to run for re-election. I will sign that legally binding document before a federal courthouse. Will put a copy on the website. It will legally bar me from running for re-election unless I deliver on those clear promises, because at the end of the day, I only work for you. Sign it. Sign it. That's it. Ask Congressman Donalds. Ask AIPAC Shakur if he'd do the same thing. I did say that. I'm asking you to hold me to a standard, to make it clear as day that I don't work for anyone but you and your family. Yeah.
James, I'm a pilot myself. Currently, we have airports that charge landing fees for ADS-B, which is kind of intended for safety usages.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of forces people to not follow the safety standards. So I'm just wondering, what would you do as governor if you were elected to combat airports misusing safety tools like ADS-B?
I'd have to look into it.
Okay.
I'm never going to sit here and tell you something I don't fully research yet. And so let's talk afterward. Let me get all the information, and then I'll post something in the next week or two after I've had a chance to research it.
Sounds good.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you one thing that I don't know the answer to, and that's something I don't know the answer to, but I'm going to get to it, okay? All right?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
I heard earlier in your speech you were talking about death penalty, and that's where my question I'm going to ask. I'm the grandson of a convicted serial killer who was incarcerated on death row.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that my grandmother is innocent. I'm not saying that she deserved life in prison. I fully believe my grandmother should have died for the crimes that she did. But the only concern I have as a resident of the state of Florida is this. There are men and women who are on death row right now who have been on death row longer than my grandmother was on death row. How can you, as governor, help that situation in the state of Florida?
I think that death row is cruel and unusual. I think that if you're going to sentence someone to death, you don't do it lightly. It's rare, but when you do it, you get it over with fast. And I'm not talking about, we talk about different uses. You had firing squad up until the 1920s in Florida. You had public hangings. I don't know that the lethal injection is the way to do that. But what I will tell you is I'll do a full audit of every single person on death row. And in a bigger sense, which I think is really the heart of your question, is criminal justice. I don't accept a state that sends men to prison for 5 years and punishes them for the rest of their lives after they get out. As Christians, we believe in repentance. If you serve the time, you are a free man to vote, a free man to participate in society. We're going to make sure that people who leave the criminal justice system have a real shot to turn their life around. And we're never going to strip them of the rights that are given to American citizens. And so my pledge to you is this. As governor, I will visit our largest state prison in the first 100 days. I will meet directly with corrections officers. And yes, I will meet directly with prisoners because I will be a governor for them as well. When they get out, they need a governor who will fight for them to reintegrate back into society.
Buying up single-family homes. And you also have any ideas to look at FWC, who is our member here in Florida, that has been going through and, for lack of a better term, raping and pillaging all of the forests and habitat that is left in Florida and developing it to make more retarded subdivisions that nobody can afford to live in. And all for them to make a profit and for none of us to make any form of profit. And there are members in FWC, senior officials, that are doing this. Or do you have any idea or any plans to go through and rework all of that?
I do. It's called Article 4, Section 7 of the Florida Constitution that allows me to remove the members of the FWC for dereliction of duty. Their job was conservation, not to line their pockets, not to rezone land, not to build Section 8-style mass-produced housing for Southern Homes or Lennar. I will remove every single member of the FWC and put good conservationists, hunters, biologists on that committee that do one thing and one thing only, and that is fight to conserve old Florida. Well, what about all the money we're going to leave on the table? Don't care. Don't care. We're going to protect our land. We're going to protect our water. And yes, we are going to protect our air. Geoengineering and weather modification has no business in Florida. They changed the law, but they will not enforce it. As governor, I will fully enforce the ban on geoengineering and weather modification in our skies. Yes, sir. Yes. Well, him back there, then we'll go to you. It's a good question. It's a good question. So the Florida retirement system is the state pension plan that supports state workers. It's a massive investment firm. And so I'm going to take a particular interest as someone who ran an investment firm on how those investments are being deployed. I'll give you just one example. After October 7th, which was a tragedy, they decided to stand in solidarity and buy $385 million of Israeli government bonds. That was not a good investment. That was a political decision. And the retirement system should never make political decisions. My goal is really simple. The retirement system should seek to generate high risk-adjusted returns. You don't do that by buying government bonds of foreign countries. You do that by buying the best performing stocks that hire employees on merit, that are investing in the United States, and you do that by exploring investments in gold and, yes, silver, and creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve within the retirement system. It's good for our state. It's also really good for the returns. I want to be able to look retirees in their eye and say that we did everything to maximize their retirement savings so they can retire with dignity. Yeah.
And then employees started working after 2011. They froze cost of living adjustments.
Correct. I would reverse that. Yes, I would reverse that. And part of the reason why that got put in place rather stupidly was because they lowered the return expectation. They froze that stuff because they realized they couldn't make the money. We can make the money. We have to put good investors in there. And I want to bring in some of the best investors across the country to help lead the retirement system. It's all about returns. How can we maximize the returns by putting good investments on the books? Yeah.
Okay, so my question for you is, as governor, what would you do to fix the corruption problems that we have within the county agencies, not only this county, but likewise counties? Because this county, as a county employee of 4 years here, I was a firefighter EMT for this county. Okaloosa County EMS, extremely corrupt, and I was actually fired by them for my religious beliefs, actually on November 6th of last year, of 2020, when the day of the election, I was fired for my religious beliefs, because I was outspoken against abortion as well, against AIPAC and Israeli interference with our government. I was fired by their chief of EMS, Daryl Wellborn, and Greg Cade. And what would you do to solve that problem?
Well, two things is we're going to make sure that you're rehired because no one should be fired because of their political beliefs, first and foremost. Has to get done. And the second thing is, why is the government so busy, worried about what your political views are as opposed to actually doing their job?
And I can tell you this right now, that there's employees that work for this county. I won't name names, but she has multiple lawsuits against her license to practice as a paramedic.
Yeah.
For negligently killing multiple patients of hers. And she still has a job at this county. She works a quick response.
But you criticized Netanyahu and you lost your job.
Yes, sir.
Interesting how that works.
There's also our medical director, Dr. Tanner. He's had multiple overdoses, and as well as multiple lawsuits against his license to practice as an MD, and he remains one of our medical directors.
So my approach is really simple. Hear directly from state employees, give them full whistleblower protection, legal representation, and if you find waste, fraud, abuse, corruption, not only will we give you a legal pathway to report it, we're also going to cut you in on the savings. Okay. Remember the show Dog the Bounty Hunter? We're going to do something in Florida called Doge the Bounty Hunter. You find waste or fraud in the Okaloosa County EMS, we're going to give you 5% of what you find. Show me the incentive and I will show you the outcome. We're going to end government corruption and waste and fraud. But guys, the government cannot investigate the government. Full stop. We need people, citizens who have their ear to the ground to hold the government accountable, and we're going to cut you in.
And I can get you that. I know many employees, former and current, that would absolutely whistleblow. And I do have a second, just quick question for you. Most first responders within this country are living paycheck to paycheck and barely even above the poverty line. I absolutely love the fact that you plan on giving teachers raises. I'm absolutely 100% for that, but you believe in giving first responders the pay that they deserve for us putting our lives on the line. Standing on the side of the road off of I-10, barely almost getting run over by 18-wheelers that refuse to move over for us, cars that refuse to move over for us, in accidents where we might be working a code or an extremely bad motor vehicle accident right there on the shoulder of I-10, and we should get hazard pay.
I agree with you on that. And yes, my plan extends to all state employees, a 25% increase. We're going to let a lot of people go. A lot of non-essential bureaucrats who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year lecturing you, we're going to let them go, take that money, and raise public sector pay by 25%. Absolutely. And it's a good investment, by the way, because if you guys are paid what you're worth, you'll do your job, you'll support your community, and you won't get pushed out of the state, and we won't have a shortage of incredible patriots who step up and serve their community. And so where are we going to get the money from? We're going to fire a lot of bureaucrats and cut a lot of waste. That's how we get to the bottom of it. We'll take one more, and then we'll do a bunch of photos, okay?
Yeah, I'm really excited about your encouragement on marriage, Christian marriage, and family, encouraging that. I'm just kind of discouraged about the RNC just a couple years ago, weakening the platform on different issues. One was marriage. Even on Rebecca Bell, once they opposed Republican conservative fight, which is now just kind of being acquiesced to. My question to you is, do you support the overturning of Bell? And whatever answer you have there, how does your position aid in the flourishing of the fundamental foundation of any society, which is the family?
So it's a great question. I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not running to be a Supreme Court justice, so I don't have a say in Obergefell. What I believe, and it might get me in trouble, but I believe that marriage is between one man and one woman, and that's how I will govern as governor. Thank you all. So part of this is a grassroots movement. Flood the timeline, flood the For You page, the story. So if you agree to post a photo of us on your story, on your Facebook, on your Instagram, I would be honored to take that photo with you. And my hope is that you'll leave here tonight and you won't just post about the fact that we met tonight, but you'll tell 5 people tomorrow that you were here. 5 Florida voters, your mom, your neighbor, your classmate. That is how we multiply this movement. We got 6 months to go. We will win, and it will not even be close. Okaloosa County, thank you so much. How was that? So Let's go down there and do it. Thank you for that.
I don't know if you want to hold that whole time, but I have some buddies talk to you about abolishing abortion.
Yeah.
And that just explains, it's kind of old